forgot to plug my microphone in. Totally forgot. Just had a big problem with YouTube. That's why this would be on a Rumble. No. I'm just going to do it from right here. Fuck it. But that's not YouTube. That's my program that's doing that. All right, is my microphone working now? YouTube has screwed me totally. So yeah, YouTube just took down one of my Devil's videos. Hold on a second. All right, so what I have today is very, very interesting. All right, we have a guy named David Garrow. Now, you may not have heard of the name David Garrow before, especially if you're not involved in any political stuff. I have one cigarette. Where is it? I had one cigarette. Was it in my ear? Fuck me. Yeah. Well, I mean, I still got some oil left. All right, anyway, David Garrow. I think I might have smoked it and then thought I had one left. Okay, so anyway. Excuse me. David Garrow was... let me get this louder. David Garrow was Barack Obama's biographer. So when you have a biographer as a president, okay, this is someone who follows you everywhere, talks to you, finds out information about you that people don't know. Let's say about President Obama at the moment, so we're going to use him as the example. Let's say Barack Obama's walking down the hallway by himself at the White House, stepping on the cockroaches that he left there when they left the White House and the rats. But other than that, there would be a man named David Garrow, usually by his side, just chatting with him because he's his biographer. Now, every president has a biographer that follows them around everywhere they go and looks into their past. And as President Trump said at the 2011 CPAC, President Trump said, before he ever decided he was going to run for president, And we know when he decided to run. It was when Barack Obama tried to humiliate him in front of a crowd and put up a picture of him. And then he said, "You'll never be president," and dropped his cell phone. Well, he was wrong. And he's an idiot. And he's a fraud, a liar. And his own biographer doesn't believe he was born in America. Sorry, guys. Sorry. But it seems as if David Garrow. Now, what I'm going to bring up here is a very, very. I'm not going to obviously read this whole article because it's crazy. But this is called the Obama Factor. It's from Tablet, and it is. Let me scroll up. Okay. Now I'll bring it on screen. All right. So we got the Obama Factor here. David Samuels interviewers a Q&A with historian David Garrow by David Samuels. Now, David Garrow, like I said, here and in other places and other interviews he has, as the biographer of the president, who was with him for 8 years, writing notes, checking his background, looking for information to get some background things to write a biography of the president in the end. And also he's basically a fact kind of like a fact checker in a way, I guess you could say. Anyway, when he was done with Barack Obama, he came to the conclusion Barack Obama was not who he says he is. He could never prove anyone of his past really knowing who he was. He says he was in Chicago for all this time, but it seems as if he was just planted into Chicago one day with a story that does not match the truth of his life. Okay? Now, David Garrow is a historian. Okay? MLK. Blah, blah, blah. He's not. Oh, and by the way, David Garrow is a leftist. David Garrow is not some right-wing guy. He's not even just a Republican. He's not blah, blah, blah. He is a not far, I wouldn't say far left, obviously, but he is a Democrat and he's also a leftist. So there's difference between liberal, Democrat, leftist, progressive. They have to box themselves in any way possible. Everywhere they go, everything they do has to be boxed into different categories: black, white, Hispanic, Asian, blah 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 blah. Everything, every single thing. So David Garrow falls under the leftist and Democrat. Okay, so he's not some right wing guy who's trying to blow up Obama's cover. Okay, so I'll read this here. There's a fascinating passage in Rising Star, David Garrow's comprehensive biography of Barack Obama's early years, in which the historian examines Obama's account in his fake book, Dreams from My Father, of his breakup with his longtime Chicago girlfriend, Sheila. And Sheila has said that, Barack Obama was a like a Black Panther kind of activist, and he broke up with her because she said something that was wrong about whatever. Let's see what this says. Obama describes a passionate disagreement following a play by African-American playwright August Wilson. Now, this isn't true, in which the young protagonist defends his incipient embrace of Black racial consciousness against his girlfriend's white-identified liberal universalism. Now, that's what he writes in his book. But that's not the truth. And this woman has come out and said the truth. Obviously, they get shut down. People are going to shut them down and not let them talk. Obviously, there were other people who came out and said, "Hey, I smoked crack with this guy. I had sex with him. I'm a man. He's a man. He's obviously not, he's obviously not an American, first of all. And he's obviously not a president. He should not be a president. He's obviously a liar." Okay, so yeah, what Garrow documented after tracking down and interviewing Sheila was an explosive fight over a different subject. In her telling, the quarrel that ended their relationship was not about his identification as a Black man, and the impetus was not a play about the American Black experience, but an exhibit at Chicago's Spertus Institute about the '61 trial of Adolf Eichmann. At that time, Obama and Sheila visited the Spertus Institute. Chicago politics was being roiled by a black mayoral aide named Steve Coakley, who, in a series of lectures organized by Farrakhan's Nation of Islam, accused Jewish doctors in Chicago of infecting black babies with AIDS as part of a genocidal plot against black people. The episode highlighted a deep rift within the city's power echelons, with some prominent black officials supporting Coakley and others calling for his firing. Well, and yeah, in the girl's recollection, I don't know if it's Jaeger, whatever, what set off the quarrel that precipitated the end of the relationship was Obama's stubborn refusal, after seeing the exhibit and in the swirl of his Coakley affair, to condemn black racism. While acknowledging that Obama's embrace of a black identity had created some degree of distance between the couple, she insisted that what upset her that day was Obama's inability to condemn Coakley's comments. It was not Obama's blackness that bothered her, but that he would not condemn anti-Semitism. Oh. Why? Because he's a liar and he's been a Muslim his whole life and they do not like Jewish people. That's pretty much, I mean, everyone knows that. No doubt Obama's evolving race-based self-consciousness did distance him from her. In the end, the couple broke up. Yet it's revealing to read Obama's account of the breakup in his fake book against the very different account that the girl said. I don't believe anyone. I believe anyone but Obama. In Obama's account, he was the particularist, embracing a personal meaning for the black experience that the girl, the universalist, refused to grant. And of course, he didn't even write the book himself. I mean, someone else wrote the book. You know, he obviously already, all his magical speeches that where he just ums, uhs, and stutters is, you know, coming through an earpiece, which he admits by accident in a video that I'll show you in a few minutes. In her account, the poles of the argument are nearly, but not quite, reversed. It's Obama who appears to minimize Jewish anxiety about blood libels coming from the black community. His particularism mattered. Hers didn't. While Obama defined himself as a realist and pragmatist, whatever you want to call it, the episode reads like a textbook evasion of moral responsibility. And now the problem is that a lot of people in his past, and there are only a few of them that even know him from before he became a senator, really. Before he was a senator, he was a community activist. And you know what that means? He was a problem starter. And before that, no one knows. People, you know, he claims he was here, there, everywhere. And everyone who was here, there, and everywhere at the same time don't know who he is, never saw him, don't remember him. Whose version of the story is correct? I guess who knows? I would say who knows would be a question, wouldn't it? It says who knows. The bridge between the two accounts is Obama's emerging attachment to blackness, which required him to fall in love and marry a black man. Now, it says woman there, but I don't know, it's not what I said. In Obama's account, his attachment to blackness is truthful and noble. In her account, his claims are instrumental and selfish. He grants particularism to the experience and suffering of his own tribe while denying it to the others. Obviously. All right, so that's not really what I wanted to get into here. But I guess, you know, I guess that was pretty cool. In contrast, Dreams from My Father, as Garrow shows throughout Rising Star, is as much as a work of dreamy literary fiction as it is an attempt to document Obama's early life. So I just skipped all paragraph, but at the end, Garrow, leftist, Democrat, biographer, Obama's biographer, says it is that Barack Obama's book, Dreams from My Father, is as much of a work of dreamy literary fiction as it is an attempt. Now, remember the word attempt. An attempt. Now, I know you probably can't read this if you're watching this, so I'll fix it. An attempt to document his early life. Let me make this bigger so people can read what I'm reading here. Scholarship aside, blah, 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 blah. Perhaps the most revealing thing about her fight with Obama, though, is not one reporter in America bothered to interview her before David Garrow found her. which near the end of Obama's presidency. It was hard to find this woman, apparently. I heard, from other sources. As Obama's live-in girlfriend and closest friend during the 80s, she's probably the single most informed and credible source about the inner life of a young man whose election was accompanied by hopes of sweeping, peaceful social change in America, a hope that ended with the election of Donald Trump, or perhaps midway through Obama's second term as the president focused on the Iran deal while failing to address the concerns about rampant income inequality, racial inequality, and the growth of a monopoly tech complex that had happened on his watch. Now, let's just get off of this for 1 second here. Let me just go back just to talk. I'll keep it up. David Garrow, in his book, calls Barack Obama a fraud. He says anything about his past, it has to be taken with a grain of salt. Most of it is a lie that he uncovered himself. And just like Trump said, it questions his moral integrity. When Trump said, why is this man spending $2 million to block people from seeing his birth certificate instead of just showing people the birth certificate? When Trump was, and other people, including Hillary Clinton, who started that, wanted to know if Barack Obama was actually born in this country. And, I mean, we pretty much know the answer to that question, okay? There's plenty of pictures and things out there to prove it. And there's plenty of pictures and things out there to prove that his life is fake, that his kids are not his kids. Okay? If you go to the Twitter account at Hawaii Live, Hawaii Lie 50, like Hawaii 50, but I guess it's concentrating on the Hawaii stuff right now. But there's the picture there of the real parents of the Obama kids. You could tell that each one of the two daughters looks like one of the other two parents. They're like twins, okay? Then, like, it's almost the same as Chelsea Clinton, obviously being the daughter of Webb Hubble and not Bill Clinton. I mean, it's very clear. It's obvious. And Bill Clinton, is funny because he embraced the daughter that's not his, but he disacknowledges the son that is. It's very funny. Anyway, Bill Clinton also had some things to say about Barack Obama, but we won't get into that. Because at first, a lot of Democrats, when they saw this guy just drop in out of nowhere and they weren't under the impression or given the note or the news, whatever you want to call it, that, this is a guy that we're planting here. Before they knew that, everyone questioned them. But they've hidden that. That wasn't really the internet age. So a lot of that stuff isn't. We're not allowed. We're not allowed. We can't see that. Find that stuff. That stuff's gone. I mean, it's somewhere. And someone can get it up on the internet. I don't know. I haven't found a lot of the stuff that I'm looking for though. Anyway, let's go back to this interview because David Samuels interviews you. So this is the story, the book I'm talking about. In New York Times book review, impressive, deeply reported, The Making of Barack Obama, rising star David J. Garrow, Pulitzer Prize-winning author of Bearing the Cross. He is the official biographer of Barack Obama. The name of the book is The Making of Barack Obama. Do you understand the language used here? Whenever I'm not talking to you guys. I'm not anyone who's watching this. I'm not saying you don't understand. I'm just talking out loud. But the way things are said are very important, especially when naming a book, something like that, a movie, a book, a documentary. This is the official biographer of a president who wrote his book when the presidency's over, called Rising Star, The Making of, not the rise or whatever of Barack Obama, the making of him. They made him. Yes. Okay. Okay, so here, I just caught this off the corner of my eye. Let me read this just out of nowhere. It seems more likely that the character Obama fashioned in dreams had been defined by Obama as being beyond the reach of normal repertorial scrutiny. Indeed, Garrow's biography of Obama's early years is filled with such corrections of a historical record that Obama more or less invented himself. Based on years of careful record searching and patient interviewing, Rising Star highlights a remarkable lack of curiosity on the part of mainstream reporters and institutions about a man who almost instantaneously was treated less like a politician and more like the idol of an inter-elite cult. Yes, not yes. Yet, when it came out 6 years ago, Rising Star was mostly ignored. As a result, its most scandalous and perhaps revelatory passages, such as Obama's long letter to another girlfriend about his fantasies of having sex with men, read today to people who are more familiar with the Obama myth than the historical record, like partisan bigotry. I don't know. But David Garrow is hardly a hack whose work can or should be dismissed on partisan grounds. He is amongst the country's most credible and celebrated civil rights historians, the author of The FBI and Martin Luther King Jr. and Bearing the Cross, which won the Pulitzer Prize for a biography, and one of the 3 historian consults who animated the monumental PBS documentary Eyes on the Prize, as well as the author of a landmark history of abortion rights, liberty, and sexuality. This man is a leftist, okay? And he, doing his research, he's a leftist, yes. A liar, no. And that's where you get respect. I mean, it's not like I don't respect people who are leftists. I respect many people who are leftists, because it's when you become, in my opinion, when you become progressive that you become a problem. But he's obviously like a leftist. He's not a Republican guy at all. Okay, everyone knows that. He's fights for abortion rights. He's got all the things that Democrats are say they fight for and pretend that and run on and never do. He's actually someone who wants those things done, which I respect him for. In part, Garrow's failure to gain a hearing for his revision of the Obama myth lay in his timing, which I might agree with because it did come out in a weird time. Rising Star felt like old news the moment it was published in May 2017, as whatever insights the book contained were overtaken by the fury and chaos surrounding the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency. So I think the book, I don't know who decides when a book gets released, but I think it wasn't David Garrow, and I think whoever was in making the decision to release this released it specifically at a time when people wouldn't be interested in it. But you know what? I'm going to get people interested in it because I'm going to get the book. I'm going to get this book and I'm going to read every fucking word out of it live online. That's how this is going to go. And I don't care if nobody watches. I don't care if 20 people see it. That's 20 more people. That's one more person. And that's all I care about. I'm not the kind of person who needs to get a message out to millions of people because it's never going to happen. I don't have that kind of power or affiliation. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, and whoever hears it and sees it, good for you, lucky you. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying, and you can. Well, let me finish reading this here. This is a very long thing, so obviously I'm not reading this. I could scroll down this thing for like 5 minutes. So, but a lot of it isn't about this stuff too. So, yet there was also evidence to suggest that the idea Obama was no longer concerned with power or involved with power was itself part of a new set of myths being woven by and around the ex-president. This is great. First, I've never read this before, but I already know because I'm going to play the video right after this. First, the Obamas never left town. Instead, they bought a large brick mansion in the center of Washington's Kalorama neighborhood, violating a norm governing the transfer of presidential power, which has been breached only once in post-Civil War American history by Woodrow Wilson, who couldn't physically be moved after suffering a series of debilitating strokes. And Obama has not suffered any of those. Well, maybe his stuttering is strokes. Who knows? In the Obama's case, the reason for staying in D.C. was ostensibly that their youngest daughter, Sasha, wanted to finish high school with her class at Sidwell Friends. Yeah, okay. In June 2019, Sasha went off to college, yet her parents remained in Washington. By then, it was clear to any informed observer that the Obama's continuing presence in the nation's capital was not purely a personal matter. To an extent that has never been meaningfully reported on, the Obamas served as both the symbolic and practical heads of the Democratic Party's shadow government that resisted Trump, another phenomenon that defied prior norms. The fact that these were not normal times could be adduced by even a passing glance at the front pages of the country's daily newspapers, which were filmed that the 2016 election had been stolen by Russia and that Trump was a Russian agent. All fake news paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. Now, let me get back to this. I had to write this down. Six of Barack Obama's team, I guess you could call them, used pseudonyms in their emails, which leads into racketeering and RICO charges. This is illegal. It's and also gave way to something that's going on today. So let me tell you this: Barack Obama, Holder, Lynch, Jackson, and then Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton all used pseudonyms in a racketeering scheme. They should be brought up on RICO charges just for doing that. Okay. In that time, Robert L. Peters was Joe Biden's pseudonym, and he was using that to be given Ukraine by Barack Obama, because at that point, it seemed as if they were going to run Joe Biden to be president. It's not Hillary Clinton. So he gave Ukraine to Biden. Then Biden starts getting his family's getting money out of Ukraine to his family. That's exactly what we all know. This is what happened. Okay, we don't need to discuss all that, but that's where Ukraine came from. It was given to him by Barack Obama. Barack Obama said, "Okay, you're in charge of the Ukraine shit, and do whatever you want." And using these pseudonyms, they emailed each other back and forth about the illegal shit, which would be racketeering, and of course would lead to RICO charges. Talking about why people were put in certain positions and for what reasons. And if you look now, Joe Biden and Ukraine, first of all, Joe Biden had a problem with Ukraine. What's great is Tucker Carlson just did an interview with the fired prosecutor, the one who was prosecuting or was investigating Burisma, which was the now defunct organization that Hunter Biden was given a job on the board of for no reason, just because Joe Biden was in charge of the U.S. diplomacy for Ukraine. And he said straight out, and we have the video, that I said if they don't stop that inquiry and fire that prosecutor, then they're not getting the loan that from America, whatever money it was, $1 billion or $6 billion or something. So we're already giving them billions of dollars way before. Hi, people in Maui, if you're watching with your $700, I'm very sorry. Please do not vote for these people again in Hawaii. If you're watching this from Hawaii, in any case, if someone from Hawaii sees this, I hope you've woken up by now. Because on the same day of those fires, he gave $24 billion to Ukraine and then sent $700 to a few random people. And then in Hawaii, and then of course, a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, and basically almost a billionaire, but a multi-millionaire came out and asked people like me who are broke and people like you who might be broke. I don't know. But you know what I mean. I'm not saying we're all broke. I'm just saying we don't have billions and millions of dollars. They live there. And of course, their properties weren't touched by any fires. They have billions of dollars. Oprah can throw $3 billion right at Lahaina, which is where the area that, was burnt to a crisp. And randomly, I'm not even going to get into that stuff here. I'm going to wait till I go to Rumble. But let me read this anyway. Let's go back to Obama. Let me see. Okay, so Given the state, another question, or report on the coming no secret for the mention, or swift substitution of upon. Okay, ready? Okay, here. Okay. Given the stakes then, it seemed churlish to object to the Obama's quiet family life in Kalorama, or to report on the comings and goings of Democratic political operatives and office seekers from their mansion. Why, though? Or to the swift substitution of Obama as party leader for Hillary Clinton, who, after all, was the person who had supposedly been cheated out of the presidency. Why even mention the strangeness of the overall setup, which surely paled next to the raw menace of Donald Trump, who lurched from one crisis to the next while lashing out at his enemies and probably selling out the country to Vladimir Putin? Yeah, that wasn't happening. We all know that. Everyone knows it. The world knows it. Now, what's funny is that the people in Washington, all these people that they just mentioned, let me see the words they used. I forgot already. Political operatives, office seekers, the comings and goings of all these people. All of those people in Washington know right now, and I'm going to play the video. They know right now that Joe Biden is not in charge of this country. He's not acting. He's not the acting president. He is the body of a president. And Barack Obama seemed to open up to one of the biggest idiots in the world and accidentally kind of tell on himself, because we know that this is happening and they've been doing things like this for a long time, but he says it as if it's a new idea.
What you know now, do you wish like you had a third term? You know what? If I could make an arrangement where,
if you could,
I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. Wow. I'd be fine.
I'd be fine with that, is what he said there. It got cut off. I'm sorry. But yeah, he said, I'd be fine with that. Yeah, that's because that's what's happening. I mean, it's very clear. But while the attention of Republicans in Washington turns to questioning the FBI, which, I mean, is not something that they shouldn't be doing, more careful observers could not fail to notice that the FBI had hardly acted alone. After all, Russiagate had not originated with the FBI, but with the Clinton campaign, which, having failed to get even sympathetic mainstream media outlets like the Times and the Washington Post to bite on its fantastical allegations, was reduced to handing off the story to campaign press apparatus like Slate's Franklin Foer and Mother Jones's David Corn. The fact that the story only got bigger after Clinton lost the election was due to Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, who's obviously a nut job, who in November and December of 2016 helped elevate Russiagate from a failed Clinton campaign ploy to a priority of the American national security apparatus, using a hand-picked team of CIA analysts, we'll call them analysts, under his direct control to validate his thesis. If Brennan was the instrument, the person who signed the executive order that turned Brennan's thesis into a time bomb under Trump's desk was Barack Obama. Yeah, well, he's a psycho. And since his chef, who he took from the White House, must know a lot of stuff about him, then went and seemed to be like almost a professional swimmer at this point, drowned in 8 feet of water outside of down by Obama's private island. Yeah. So drowned, 8 feet of water, amazing swimmer, proven in videos. He was posting videos of him doing, laps, swimming, doing crazy kinds of swims that I know, I couldn't do, but I still don't think in 8 feet of water, unless like a tidal wave came through, that I would drown. Okay. And this guy, and I'm also under 6 foot. This guy was like 6'5". All right. So he's a foot away from so he was either hit and knocked, he went unconscious, Something happened to him. He didn't just drown in 8 feet of water or, paddle boarding. That doesn't happen um, in that way. It's just not it's not reality. So let's go back anyway to what I was just saying. The election of Joe Biden in 2020 gave the Obamas even more reasons to stay in the town. The whispers about Biden's cognitive decline, which began during his bizarre COVID-sheltered basement campaign, were mostly dismissed as partisan attacks on a politician who had always been gaffe-ridden. That's not true, actually. Yet, as President um, Joe Biden wasn't gaffe-ridden when he was the vice president, especially the first 4 years. He wasn't gaffe-ridden. He's just, I mean, a little silly, but that's about it. Now, yeah, obviously is going through the stages of dementia. It's very clear, and that's okay. It happens to people, but why do they have to lie about it? Just admit it. I mean, Woodrow Wilson, I guess, he had all those strokes and stuff. They weren't pretending he wasn't having strokes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Roosevelt was in a wheelchair. Yes, they did try and keep photos of him in a wheelchair, like at a press, but that wasn't an internet age, and it didn't matter. Yet, as President Biden continued to fall off bicycles, misremember basic names and facts, and mix long and increasingly weird passage of data-esque, like datus, if you don't know what that is, nonsense with autobiographical whoppers during his public appearances, it became hard not to wonder how poor the president's capacities really were and who was actually making decisions in a White House staff top to bottom with core Obama loyalists. When Obama turned up to the White House, staffers and the press crowded around him, leaving President Biden talking to the drapes, which is not a metaphor, but a real thing that happened. Now, I'm going to make myself bigger just to show you. Obama comes in, Joe Biden's the president, Obama comes in the room with him. Everyone that's in the room that already knows both of these men surround Barack Obama. Joe Biden standing in the background, looking at the drapes on the wall, touching them, then finally goes like an old man would, like to say, like, I need you to bring me to the potty, goes to Barack Obama, and if this mug was Barack Obama's shoulder, he started grabbing his shoulder like this, like trying to say, "Hey, I'm behind you. I'm supposed to be in the front." Like that happened. I don't have that video clip up here, but I could play it. Let me see if I can play it actually. Let's see if I can find it. Because I do know Benny Johnson played that clip. Let's see, where's that clip? Actually, let's go to this because here's the clip of when Benny, I hope you don't mind, buddy. I'm gonna go to Benny Johnson's video and show you the moment that Donald Trump, who has told many people that this was the time, the moment that he decided to run for president.
About this, and he says, "This is the moment. I decided to run for president. Go."
And I know just the guy to do it. Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing?
You hear all that
really
fake laugh?
In Roswell?
This isn't funny.
And where are Biggie and Tupac? Say what you will about Mr. Trump. He certainly would bring some change to the White House.
This is in 2011.
Let's see what we've got up there.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so as I scroll, because there's another video in here I want to see. All right, here we go. This is from CNN, actually. Let me change this again. I'll press play and then change it.
Okay. This was the original salvo across the bow by Donald Trump.
They're trying to figure out why.
All right.
As legitimately.
It's not a birth certificate, Candy. And people are trying to figure out why isn't he giving his birth certificate. It's not a birth certificate. A certificate of live birth, and you can see that one that you have and the one that I brought you, because that's the one that's on the internet and all over the place. It doesn't even have a serial number. It doesn't have a signature. It doesn't have a signature. One that I saw on television has a stamp. But that's not a signature.
Right, but that's how they
Excuse
do
me,
these.
but that's not the one that they were showing to everybody. And I just say very simply, why doesn't he show his birth certificate? Why has he spent over $2 million in legal fees to keep this quiet?
So,
I mean, people make fun of Donald Trump for doing this, but in reality, please leave a comment if you know about this story. If you believe, after I'm telling you right now that Barack Obama's his own biographer said he's a fraud and that he's lied about his whole life. His life was made up for him. Okay, let's read. Okay, here we go. That Obama might enjoy serving as a third-term president in all but name, running the government from his iPhone, was a thought expressed in public by Obama himself before and after he left office. Now they said that the Stephen Colbert thing, that was in 2015. What I missed there was I'd be fine with that because I found the work fascinating. That was the rest of what I missed there. Even with all these clues, the Washington press corps, fresh off their years of broadcasting fantasies about secret communication links between Trump Tower and the Kremlin, seemed unable to imagine, let alone report, on Obama's role in the government. Why? There's David Garrow himself. Instead, every few months, a sanitized report appears on some aspect of the ex-president's outside public advocacy, presented within limits that are clearly being set by Obama's political operatives, which conveniently ally with the problems that are inherent in having a person with no constitutional role or congressional oversight take an active role in executive decision-making. Near the end of June, for example, Politico ran a long article noting Biden's cognitive decline. Now, that's Politico. You don't really expect that from them. With the coy headline, "Is Obama ready to reassert himself?" As if the ex-president hadn't been living in the middle of Washington and playing politics since the day he left office. Indeed, in previous weeks, Obama had continued his role as central advocate for government censorship of the internet, while launching a new campaign against gun ownership, claiming it is historically linked to racism. Yeah, of course, sure it is. Surely the spectacle of an ex-president simultaneously leading campaigns against both the First and Second Amendments might have led even a spectacularly incurious old-school D.C. reporter to file a story on the nuts and bolts of Obama's political operation and on who was going in and out of his mansion. But the D.C. press was no longer in the business of maintaining transparency, and they still aren't. Instead, they had become servants of power, whose job was to broadcast whatever myths helped advance the interests of the powerful. There's another interpretation of Obama's post-presidency, of course, one shared by many Republicans and Democrats. In that interpretation, Obama was never the leader of much of anything, neither during the Trump years nor now. Instead, he was focused on buying trophy properties, hanging out with billionaires, which he's been doing, both of those, and vacationing on private yachts while grifting large checks from marks like Spotify and Netflix. He's definitely been doing that. Even if his now stratospheric levels of personal vanity, which David Garrow said that vanity is President Barack Obama's like number one thing is vanity. Like he is it's all about him. He's a narcissist, a very deep narcissist. That's what he said. Read the book. I'm going to read it to you. I got to get it first, though. That might not happen for a little bit. Even if he's Vanity also demanded that every so often he show up President Biden for the sin of occupying his chair in the White House. And that's what he does. And that's what he did in that video. I want to show you the video. I really do want to show you the video. But if I can't find it, I mean, I'm not gonna. Is this it right here? I think this might be it from Benny's show. Okay, yeah. All right, you ready? Now, there's Biden. There's Obama. Now watch. These are all people that know these people. This is in the White House.